And I think it's a show that also deals with the search of our identity, through the characters without spoiler. But it's a question for both of you. How did you work on this aspect? And what do you think audience will relate to in this sense? Will they find more about themselves watching the show?
And I think it's a good question for you to answer because this is, for me, what I always thought was one of the hardest, exercises as an actor that I've seen or on a project that I've worked on, where you're asking an actor to play multiple versions of themselves and then one that merges those versions. What was your process like?
I think it was very important to identify where the last journey was left off and the truth of who this person is once her memories were erased, because she had to build a new life, and that life was built for a certain number of years. Who knows, she could have had a boyfriend, she could have had heartbreak, she could have not had that, she could have been traveling. So I kind of really worked with the writers, David, on a backstory of what happened in that duration, and then the morality, the questions of the weight of the information you find out, or when your memories come back, the gravity of the decisions that you've made. So we really detailed a lot about, regret, a lot of things that you kind of think of in the past and, or hope that you may not have had. So I worked on the character to kind of have a lot of that. And I think that is very true of human beings. We step into every day with trying to figure out how much of yesterday we're going to bring into today and how much of tomorrow we need to look for. And I think that's Nadia and Mason and all the characters that this happened to, that they're just like an amalgamation of what happened and what they need to do. And it's figuring it out. That was a lot of fun. I do think that the audience is going to be very busy trying to see us figure out their lives, that I don't know if they'll even get into themselves. But I think it'll make people think about it. I think it'll make people think about what they really are and who they really are and the choices that they've made.
So, and I think that Nadia looks like a superhero, and Drew, you have a quite, experience on this side. What do you think, since spy and superhero are really compelling on the screen, what do you think is the main difference between them?
Well, it's interesting, right? As spies are grounded in the real world, they're bound by the rules of physics, right?
They bleed.
Yes, they bleed. They can be shot. But in a lot of ways, they're trained. They have a skill set that makes them exceptional, that sets them apart from normal people, and makes them aspirational in that regard. What's interesting about the show is we then strip that away from them, and then they have to rediscover that. And so in a lot of ways, it's characters who were superheroes who have completely forgotten their past of being a superhero, and build these entirely new lives, and then have this past thrust back on them. And they have to find a way to make it all work, or, redefine themselves moving forward with all of this knowledge. And that, to me, is probably the most compelling aspect of the show.